Morning, this is Brian. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and I'm here in Cleveland National Forest on Palomar Mountain on Canfield Road, San Diego County S6. It is time for the first oat video I have done in a while. It's my first plant video in quite a while, and today's subject is the Coulter Pine, Pinus coulteri. Yes, I've done at least one or two oat videos to this tree before. I've done at least one or two. But it's time for a really juicy one I got for you today. You might have noticed the thumbnail had a picture of a really humongous pine tree. That's not a Jeffrey pine. It's not a ponderosa pine. That, believe it or not, this massive pine tree right here is actually a Coulter pine. I joke you not. Here we are, not that far from the observatory campground and not that far from Fry Creek campground, where some of the largest trees in the Palomar range grow. There's this absolutely gargantuan Coulter pine right here. We're about elevation 4,850 feet, and we're in the thick of the forest here. So, I've seen this tree on quite a few occasions because I've driven through this area several times. When I first saw this, I assumed it was a ponderosa pine. And my friend Brett and I have come up to this tree and scrutinized it, checking out the cones. And then I was assuming maybe it was a hybrid Coulter / Jeffrey pine. Because Jeffrey pines and ponderosa pines are known to get much larger than Coulter pines. Normally. And then seeing these very wide bark plates also made me think, could this be a hybrid? Because I did see some pretty large cones on the ground. But the more I've seen this tree, driving past it along the highway, and the more I see it, and the more I've scrutinized this tree, and this is the first time really pulling over, so I'm really actually at it, investigating it. This is a regular, straightforward Coulter pine. This is an actual Coulter pine. This massive tree right here. Coulter pines are normally smaller to medium-sized pines, but every now and then you'll get these monsters. This is probably close to 150 feet tall, which is very tall for a Coulter pine. Usually they're anywhere between 40 and 70 usually. But yeah, I tripped up by these very wide bark plates. And that's one thing, Palomar Mountain has the largest Coulter pines I've ever seen to date. Usually wide bark plates are indicative of Jeffrey or ponderosa. But no, this is a Coulter pine. Now, Coulter pines typically have more furrowed bark. And I'm going to go up to a Coulter pine. I'd say the more moderate-sized trees and the smaller trees typically have more furrowed bark that doesn't plate out like that. I'm going to go up to one right now. Okay, so this is what you could typically expect on Pinus coulteri, the Coulter pine. This is the typical bark you'd expect to see. And this is also bark that's pretty typical looking for younger ponderosa and younger Jeffrey pines as well when they're younger. Because normally, when they get much older, their bark widens and plates out. Just like that Coulter pine I started showing you. So this is pretty typical. Most even more mature, moderate-sized Coulter pines also have bark that is typically more deeply furrowed and much less plated out. Now here at Palomar, these Coulter pines get so huge in some areas that their bark actually plates out like a Jeffrey or ponderosa. And a lot of times when pine trees get large, other species of pines also plate out. So I'm going to go back to that Coulter pine because this thing is just absolutely stupendously beautiful. This is an absolutely awesome tree. Just cannot get enough of this Coulter pine. But yeah, I guess when Coulter pines get large enough, their bark will plate out too. And I've seen this on at least a good few to several trees here in the Palomar area. All these trees on this other side, all these pines, they've got a lot of incense cedar, white fir, and big cone Douglas fir mixing in. But the pine trees, the actual pines, are in this area are, I believe, just about all Coulter pines. I don't think there are any Jeffreys or ponderosas in this general vicinity. There are spots of ponderosas here in Palomar, especially in the state park in Lower Doane and French Valleys. And above Fry Creek Campground, there's a small grove of Jeffrey pines on a ridge line above the Fry Creek Campground area. But yeah, down here, this is basically all Coulter pine, basically. So yes, it's just look at the plating on this tree. This tree has both girth. This is one of the girthiest Coulter pines. This is one of the girthiest Coulter pines I've ever seen. And there are a couple of really big ones down in the Fry Creek Canyon too. So around the Fry Creek Campground, there are a couple of massive Coulters down there. This is the one that has the most plating on it. The other ones down in Fry Creek do have some plating as well. But this one's just almost like a yellow belly ponderosa or a red belly Jeffrey pine. It's just how big this tree has gotten that its bark plates out. Like I said, a lot of other species of pines, besides ponderosas, Jeffreys, and apparently Coulter pines, also plate. Even sugar pine plates out, and even our non-native ornamental trees down in the lowlands, like I've seen Italian stone pines. When they get larger, they plate out, and so do Canary Island pines. Sometimes they'll look just like Coulter or ponderosa pines when they get bigger. Now, I'm trying to see if I can do this without getting in the sunlight, but there's another really tall Coulter pine that's probably close to the same height as this other one. Less girthy, but it's very tall. Let me see if I can get on the other side of the sunlight so I can show you. Hopefully I can get a good angle on it because it's a very tall Coulter pine. All right, so this is maybe not the best view of it, but I'm trying to do it without getting the sun, A, in my eyes, and B, in the viewer's eyes. Right there, that really tall pine is right up there. That's another Coulter pine, yes. So yes, believe me, I scrutinize the cones on the ground, but I also scrutinize the cones in the trees. And the cones on the bottom of that big one right there, the cones on the bottom are huge. If you look up in the tree itself, you can see that tree's got huge cones in it. So yeah, that is a Coulter pine. It's a lot grayer than a Jeffrey pine, and much grayer than a ponderosa pine. So you can see that grayish green foliage, pretty indicative of a mature Coulter pine. I just can't get over that. That is just an absolutely monster Coulter pine. And is this one here? Can't even see the top of it, so tall. That right there is the plating out bark of a really big Coulter pine. This has quite a bit less girth than our main subject here, but it definitely is pretty decent sized as well. Yes, indeed. I had to get over to some of these Coulter pines and at least get an ode video, because I haven't done an actual plant video in a long time, and I've been wanting to see those big Coulter pines for a while. Let's see, I'm trying to see, there are more younger Coulter pines in here too. In fact, next part of this video, I'm going to go to another spot and take a look at some other Coulter pines. So I'm going to go to another spot, but yeah, those are all Coulter pines in there. All right, so on my next clip, I'm going to go take a look and see some other trees. Well, before I go, I want to show you the evidence. More evidence of these being coulter pines. That last picture I took, I tried to zoom in on a cone on a branch. I don't know how well that'll come out, but here's your evidence. Big clawed coulter pine cones. Yes, and they came right from this tree. Yes, indeed. So yes, again, sometimes I still have to pinch myself to think, to wonder if I'm dreaming. This is a magnificent tree. And that's why I'm doing this ode video today to the coulter pines. Because I wanted to get to these actually gargantuan trees. You'd usually typically not expect to be this tall. Yes. Yeah, here's this one again. This is the one I was looking at, the more furrowed bark. This is a younger tree, but this one is not lacking in height either. Again, what a magnificent tree. I've always been a huge fan of coulter pines. The last time I was around coulter pines was when I hiked Pinus Mountain. And those trees are much smaller. Most of them are much younger, but it's much drier over there than it is here. This area is very mesic, which has a lot more moisture. So these trees, you can expect to get huge. All right, so I'm gonna go to another spot and take a look at some more of these coulter pines. All right, so I'm just a little over a quarter of a mile down the road. I'm here in the observatory campground where there are a lot more coulter pines. Here's a nice young one right here. I guess when they're young, I believe they can be pretty quickly growing, I believe. We do have quite a bit of coulter pine growing here too, so I'm gonna go check out some of the ones in this area. And then I'll go stop over by the Fried Creek area as well. So, yes. Let's go see. Let's go see some coulter pines around here too. All right, so we're back. We're back in the campground. Just, well, yeah, these are all these pine trees are all coulter pines. Yeah. They do get quite a bit larger here in the Palomar area than they do in a lot of Southern California. They're endemic, basically endemic from, I believe, northern Baja, I believe northern Baja, Southern California mountains, and up to the Central Coast in Monterey County, I believe, up towards, I believe, the Diablo Range in east of the San Francisco Bay. But yeah, some absolutely stunning trees. And here is another large one right here. This is another quite large coulter pine. And again, I see all the cones in the trees. They're not intermittent in size between Jeffreys and coulters. They're straight, full-on coulter cones. So there's another quite large one here. Can't get enough of this. All right, so I'm coming up to another huge coulter pine. It's another huge one. Look at that. That's insane. This one's at least as tall as the other one. The first one I highlighted. This thing is massive. Look at the size of this coulter pine. Again, the evidence is all the cones laying around. This is another coulter pine. This thing I think is maybe even slightly taller than the other one. And it's just about as girthy too. I'll show you the girth. This one hasn't plated out. The bark on this one is still furrowed. So that's weird. This one's still roughly furrowed. This thing is massive. This thing is huge. Yeah. Again, this is not a Jeffrey pine. This is not a ponderosa pine. Definitely not a sugar pine. This is a Coulter Pine. Oh boy. Ooh, this is crazy. But yeah, this is more typical. This is the more typical furrowed bark you'd expect on Coulter Pine. This one's, for some reason, I think it's starting to show some signs of plating. You see here, maybe a tiny bit. But for the most part, this one did not plate out like the couple of the other large ones I saw. This one's pretty typical for bark. Very atypical for its extreme height. It's probably close to 150 feet tall. So I know there's supposed to be two records, two competing record-sized Coulter Pines. One in Julian and one near Seven Oaks. I think it's called Seven Oaks in the San Bernardino Mountains in San Bernardino County. That are supposed to be massive, but I think I saw pictures of the one in Julian, and it is nowhere near as tall as this. This thing is just insane. To be honest with you, this is taller than most of the Jeffrey pines I've seen here in Southern California. Again, Jeffrey pine is normally a much larger and much taller tree, but yeah, that is a Coulter Pine. Pinus coulteri. Let's see if I can find some more in the area that I could showcase. I might be heading over to the Fried Creek campground for more video, footage of these magnificent trees, because there are some massive ones over there too. All right, so now I just found a couple more massive Coulter Pines. Yeah, some of these are unbelievably big. Here's another real girthy Coulter Pine right here. That's why I'm taking my time with this video. Now I've done a spotlight video on this, and I've done at least 1 or 2 ode videos prior to this one. But it was time for another one, because this area is where some of the most massive Coulter Pines on Earth grow. At least in my experience and my knowledge. Again, this one's starting to get a little bit of plating, not much. This one's still mostly furrowed. But this is another massive, probably at least 130 plus feet tall Coulter Pine. And these younger ones here too are really reaching for the sky. These young ones too are very vigorous. See? There's another Coulter right here. Another very tall, girthy one. Not as tall as the other ones, but this one's also, again, unbelievable. And you can tell by their branching structures that these are most certainly Coulter Pines. The very upturned branches and the slightly irregular curled branches, very indicative of the growth typical of Pinus coulteri. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Yeah, you can hear the Stellar's jays are really causing a ruckus over here. I love it. But yeah, now I know when I was along S6, I showed this massive Jeffrey pine from across the way. I mean, Jeffrey pine. These are big as the average Jeffrey pine, at least here in SoCal. Now, yeah. So I'm not that far from S6. So my massive Coulter Pine from when I started the video should be over there across the way. So I'm not that far from S6. But here is yet again, this is one I was looking at from across the road, I believe. I believe this is from the one I saw from across the street. Look how massive this one is. Look at the girth on this Coulter pine. I can't get over this. I am just literally bugging out right now at how massive these Coulter pines are. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I want to show you. Now, Coulter pines are, I think, a lot of times overlooked compared to ponderosas and Jeffreys, because those are the huge mountain pines of California. But, and of course, Coulter pines are also renowned for having really dangerously heavy cones that could really seriously hurt you, or worse. But so they might be overlooked in the sense of maybe underappreciated, but I think that they're just magnificently beautiful trees. And when they reach this potential, it's just outstanding, and it's just impossible for me to want to pass up appreciating them. And that's what purpose of my ode videos is to show appreciation. Typically after I've done the spotlight / more informational video on each species, I like to do ode videos to show a more spiritual, mental appreciation for these trees. And yeah, all the ones that are pines. There's a lot of incense cedar mixing in here. There's some white fir, an occasional big known Douglas fir. But all the trees that are true pines are the big cone type, the Coulter pine. So yeah, all Coulter pines, Coulter pine, Coulter pine, big Coulter pine. I'm going to be honest, some of these Coulter pines actually give some of the taller ponderosa and even some of the taller sugar pines in Southern California a run for their money. Now, as a species, sugar pine and ponderosa pine are the two largest species of pines in the world. Some people say sugar pine is the largest. Some people say especially the Pacific race of ponderosa pine is largest. But now, if you go up into Central and Northern California and you're looking at sugar pines and ponderosa pines, they're obviously going to be much larger than these, no doubt about it. But here in Southern California, where trees are usually not quite as large because of the less rainfall and everything, these are extremely respectable sized trees. And again, these will actually give some of our sugar pines a little bit of a run for their money. At least the Southern California sugar pines. Some of them. It depends on where you go. If you're out in the main montane forest, usually trees are a little more moderate sized. Occasionally in canyons and gullies, you'll see them reach ridiculous size. And that's the same for ponderosa and Jeffrey pines, and of course sugar pines. But here, if we did have, but here's the thing. I've read that sugar pine is supposed to be found somewhere in Palomar. I've gone to where it's been noted on CalFlora and did not see any sugar pine there. Now, if the Coulter pines get this big here, if sugar pine did grow here, then I could just imagine how big the sugar pines would be here. The sugar pines would be larger here in this spot. Pretty sure if sugar pine grew here, sugar pine would probably be easily 200 feet tall. Easily 200 feet tall, if not more. But yeah, but again, this video is about Coulter pine, so I'm getting a little off topic. I'm here appreciating the magnificent Coulter pine. Now, I'm probably going to stop off at another spot before I end this video. I might go up to should be going up to the Fried Creek campground to finish this off. So be on the lookout for some footage over there. Otherwise, I'm just going to go snap a couple more pictures here before moving on. Alright, so I'm going to enter the Fried Creek campground so I can get some more footage of some large Coulter Pines. You can see some large Coulter Pines that grow in this campground area as well. Very large ones here. A lot of smaller, younger ones too. But some very large, older ones. So let's go ahead and look around. Let's go find some big coulters now. Some more big coulters, I should say. There was one that was really big. You can kind of see across the gully, one that fell down. Looks like it fell down from wind or something. Used to be a really big coulter pine right here at the entrance. Really sad to see that though. That was a pretty big tree too. I remember that one. That was a pretty big one. Here's a little bit younger one here. It's got some height to it as well. It's probably close to 100 feet. Maybe about 90 feet maybe. It's plating out too. You see the cinnamon color of the plates of the bark. So yeah, they're starting to plate out over here too. You hear Fry Creek is kind of trickling right now. And yes, here we go, some more coulters. Yes, they grow here too. That's why I'm taking my time on this video. It's a long video and I'm taking my time so you guys can enjoy these trees with me. Not rushing this video. This is what I'm very proud to make. I'm very proud to be around these trees and document them and show everybody how awesome they are. And that's what I do oat videos. All right, let's go find some more big ones. Okay, here's another pretty big coulter pine right here. Pretty tall one. Looks like it's well over 100 feet tall. Got some girth to it. And yeah, tall, narrow coulter pines. That's crazy. That's crazy, I love it. There's a much larger one up this way too. In fact, I'm gonna head over towards it right now. Here's another monster coulter pine. Another reason why I'm doing this oat video here and now. Right there. There we go. It's another one I'm gonna start calling kingpin coulter pines. That's another kingpin tree right there. It's probably close to 140 feet tall. Maybe not even more, if not even more. Another big coulter pine. That is another massive coulter pine. Pretty sure I featured this on my 2023 Fry Creek video. This is a big tree. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's not even the girthiest one either, but it's one of the tallest ones. This one's really tall. This one's got height to it. Oh, wait a minute. This is a white fir. This is it right here. Oh, and this one does have girth. Yes. And the bark's plating out. Wider bark plates. Wow. This is a big tree. This is a massive coulter pine right here. There's Fry Creek. Yeah, this is a massive coulter pine. This is a legitimate big tree. Wow. Yeah, this is a monster. Huh. Bigger than this white fir. Usually white fir is a bigger tree than coulter pine. Incense cedars and white firs typically are bigger than coulter pines, but for some reason in this area, coulter seems to be king. All right, poke around a little bit more, see if I can find some more outsized coulter pines before I end this ode video. So yeah, back to that one coulter pine though. Gosh, I can't believe how big they get here. That is just amazing. That's not a Jeffrey or Ponderosa. That's a coulter pine. I can see the cones in the tree. And the branching structure, that's very much coulter pine. That is just unbelievable. This is the only place. I mean, I've seen a couple pretty decent sized ones in Angeles National Forest in the San Gabriel Mountains above LA. I've seen some pretty big ones over there too, but some of the ones here are just unbelievably huge. Unbelievably huge. All right. Let's keep on trekking and see if I can find any other big ones before I end the video. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm hiking through the back, the upper part of the campground, and I'm going to turn left on this fire road, which I'm going to follow for a short distance and show you some more tall coulter pines. And that'll probably wrap up this video for the day. There's some large ones just outside of here, the back end of Fry Creek Campground. And of course, since this is a sunnier slope here, you can expect a lot of these coulter pines here to be more typically sized. Let's see. Something more akin to some of those pines behind the oak. More typical size for coulter pines. But I'm going to follow this, show you a few more large ones before we end this ode video. Yeah, there we go. A little closer to typical size there. All right. Let's go see. So here we go again. A few more large ones. Maybe not quite as large as some of the ones from earlier, but these definitely are pretty decent sized pines too, with some pretty girthy trunks. But this one though, that's a different story. This is another unbelievably massive coulter pine. Yes, that's another gargantuan coulter pine right there. Yes, indeed. That's a big tree. That is a big coulter pine right there. Yes. That is a massive, massive coulter pine right there. Wow. There's the upper part of the tree right there. Yes, indeed. Coulter pines can get huge here. Look at that. Just look at the size of that tree. That's a monster coulter pine. Big reason why I was doing this video. Show some love to a huge tree like that. That is gorgeous. That is huge. What a monster tree. I don't see any cones in it though. It's got to be a coulter pine. Jeffrey pines sometimes get like this. Up a little bit further, up the way, up this road a little bit, there's a small grove of Jeffrey pines. I don't see any cones on this one. Still pretty sure that's a Coulter pine. Trying to see if I see cones in the tree. But yeah. I don't see any cones. Those other ones are definitely Coulters because I could see the cones on the. I could see the cones. Yeah. I know I do see a cone in it. Yeah, I think yeah, it looks like a Coulter cone. Yeah, Coulter pines. Well, I think this is gonna basically wrap it up for this ode video. I hope you enjoyed my tour of sections here of Palomar Mountain where Coulter pine is actually one of, if not the largest tree. And it's usually not. Most places you go, it's a lot smaller than the other pines and other conifers, but here at Palomar, Coulter pines get huge. And I hope you enjoyed coming along with me to check out some of these monster pines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next ode video.